Oh, 300 Scoville. Okay. Oh, that's tasty. Hi, I'm Olaf. Bet you're wondering who we are and why we're here. It's quite simple. It began with two sisters. One born with magical powers. One born powerless. The love of snowmen, infinite. That one's actually still pretty good. Oh, it's Anaheim. Anna, no, too high! Blast! Oh! Mama, Papa, help! Slam! Doors shutting everywhere, sisters torn apart! At least they have their parents. Cayenne Pepper? Their parents are dead. There we go.
Anna,
Oh, okay.
I just met.
Hi, I'm Anna. I'll marry a man I just met. Scotch bonnet. Okay. It's gonna blow! Snow, snow everywhere! Run, run, run! Ah! I'm doing this, but there's that one. Oh! Magic pulses through my snowflakes. I live.
Alright, go for it. Oh!
Oh! Oh! Oh, just a second. Ice Palace for one! Ice Palace for one! Get out, Anna! Pew, pew! Ah! My heart! Only an act of true love can save you. Camera. Oh no, that was so much! Oh! Here is true love's gift. Never mind, you're not worth it. Guess what? I'm the bad guy. And then Anna freezes to death. Forever. And then she unfreezes. Oh, this one's doubling the last one. Guys! Oh, that was so much sauce! Oh no! Oh! Oh, and then Elsa woke up the magical spirits and we were forced out of the kingdom. Now our only hope is to find the truth about the past. We don't have a clue how to do that, except Elsa's hearing voices, so we got that going for us. Any questions? I think they got it. Yeah. I don't even know if this is helpful or not.
I think it is.
Oh, it is. I think I'm sweating like really, really. Oh gosh, you can see it. Okay. If your friends want you to do a ghost pepper challenge, they're not your friends.
I know what you're thinking. Did that just happen? Yes. Yes, it did. But Frozen? Really? Aren't we a little too old for that? And to that, I have a few words for you. Just let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Turn away and slam the door. I don't care what they're going to say. Let the storm rage on. The cold never bothered me anyway. Wait, Blair, where are you going? I just got into it a little. Welcome to Grace Students Live, where we like to have fun, laugh a little, and maybe own and discover something about who you are, who God is, who you are to God, and who God is to us. Hey, I firmly believe that God isn't up in heaven doing Bible studies 24/7. I think God likes to shake it up. I think God's so much on the move, he likes to do a little parkour here and there. Parkour! Parkour! Oh, it's so slimy! Parkour! Don't worry. I wasn't hurt in the making of that video much. And even if I was, I don't know if it would have made it better or worse. You can decide. But anyways, why don't you take a beat and put in the chat some injuries that you have sustained in your lifetime. And if you can't remember, here's some funny clips on the internet to help you remember. I can remember this one time that I was in middle school. I was on the town football team. I was the only girl on the whole team. And in this one game, I was a defensive end and I had a straight shot at the quarterback. And so I'm like running like full speed, as fast as my little preteen legs can carry me. And I'm like, I'm gonna make this play, it's gonna be epic. And out of nowhere, this kid, who was probably like 8 times bigger than me, just comes up and clips me right on my pads and like just like sends me flying. Like I'm gone. And I just remember just lying on the ground with the wind knocked down me and I was like, and then my teammates come up to me like, Taylor, you gotta get up or they're gonna take you out of the game, you gotta get up. So I'm like, okay. So like they help me up and I'm like, they bring me back to the huddle and I'm just like, and they're like, you good? I'm like, and like that was real pain. And I couldn't even have time to process it. Like it was just like in the moment, hurt, instant on impact. And I will never forget that moment for my entire life.
All right. So.
Giant kids take some puny tater.
Yeah. We don't need anyone to tell us if your
Okay.
injuries, pain, suffering.
But we don't need anyone to tell us that there's pain and injury and suffering in this world. If somehow you've gone through life without experiencing that, I think in this moment, we've gone through a pandemic. No.
Yeah.
Okay,
You're good.
okay.
Take it, own it.
We don't need anyone to tell us that there's pain and suffering and hardship in this world. And maybe you've gone through life and haven't really experienced it until this moment. In the midst of a pandemic. I don't know many people who can say they've lived through a pandemic. But not only is there a pandemic, there's racial tension and injustice and tragedy. There's people losing their jobs. There's a loss of life and celebration and milestone moments that we're all experiencing. And in these moments that are hard and difficult, we can find ourselves asking the question, does God really care about my pain?
Thank you so much, Akash, for your awesome Olaf speech. Olaf would be so proud. Frozen 2 came out right at the beginning of quarantine. And I think that it couldn't have come out at a more perfect time because we literally hadn't figured anything out about quarantine yet and we had nothing else to do. And me being the Disney musical fanatic that I am, I was super excited. But before I could watch Frozen 2, I needed to go back and watch Frozen 1. So I went back and I watched the original Frozen. Did you guys know that the original Frozen came out in 2013? Think about that. How old were you in 2013? Put that in the chat. You guys don't need to know how old I was. I think it's crazy that the songs of Frozen 1 are sung over and over by kids and adults, if we're being honest, 7 years later. Do you want to build a snowman for the first time in forever? Let it go, let it go. Conceal, don't feel, don't let them know. I'll stop. You guys get it. The lyrics of those songs get stuck in your head for well, at least 7 years now. And one of the phrases from one of those songs is Conceal, Don't Feel. Throughout the first half of the first movie, Elsa sings that phrase a number of times. She's afraid of what people will think if she were to share her feelings. Her feelings and her powers are linked. And she's nervous. And I think that I can relate to Elsa on that point. I mean, in so many different times of my life, I have told myself that I need to stuff my feelings down. I need to conceal them and not show them to anyone because I was afraid. Will people listen to me? Will anybody understand what I'm going through? And I think the biggest fear of them all is, will anybody even care? Everybody experiences pain and suffering. And today I want to define pain as a negative experience that you feel physically. So I stepped on a Lego and I felt pain. You guys know what stepping on a Lego feels like, right? And suffering as a negative experience that affects you mentally and makes you feel negative emotions. So I stepped on a Lego and I couldn't stop thinking that I'll step on another one. So now I walk around my house anxious. So pain and suffering, they aren't mutually exclusive, and sometimes they are. You can experience pain and suffering together, but you can also experience pain and or suffering. And right now in our world, pain and or suffering are real in a really big way. And it can leave us, you and I, feeling a little bit like Elsa. Feeling afraid to share our feelings. We need to conceal and bury our pain and our suffering because in comparison to what's going on in the world, my pain isn't important. My suffering doesn't matter. Who's going to care about me and my pain and suffering? And in today's encounter with Jesus, we meet a woman who, for many years, felt this way. But in this encounter, she decides to do like Elsa and let it go. Read with me. Mark 21 through 34, and I'm using the Message. After Jesus crossed over by boat, a large crowd met him at the seaside. One of the meeting place leaders named Jairus came. When he saw Jesus, he fell to his knees, beside himself as he begged, "My dear daughter is at death's door. Come and lay hands on her so she will get well and live." Jesus went with him. The whole crowd tagged along, pushing and jolting him. A woman who had suffered a condition of hemorrhaging for 12 years, a long succession of physicians had treated her and treated her badly, taking all her money and leaving her worse off than before, had heard about Jesus. She slipped in from behind and touched his robe. She was thinking to herself, if I can put a finger on his robe, I can get well. The moment she did it, the flow of blood dried up. She could feel the change and knew her plague was over and done with. At the same moment, Jesus felt energy discharging from him. He turned around to the crowd and asked, "Who touched my robe?" His disciples said, "What are you talking about? With this crowd pushing and jolting you, you're asking who touched you? Dozens have touched you." But he went on asking, looking around to see who had done it. The woman, knowing what had happened, knowing she was the one, stepped up in fear and trembling, knelt before him, and gave him the whole story. Jesus said to her, "Daughter, you took a risk of faith, and now you're healed and whole. Live well, live blessed, be healed of your plague." In this story, there are two ladies who are experiencing pain and suffering. One, a younger girl, the religious leader's daughter, and the other, this woman without a name. And in human eyes, one is definitely experiencing pain and suffering at a higher capacity. I mean, the religious leader's daughter is dying. Her pain and suffering was far greater than the woman without a name. But for 12 years, this woman had been experiencing pain and suffering, and she had been concealing it. Historically, any woman who suffered from what this woman was suffering from, they would have been shunned or cast out of their community. So realistically, this woman had no friends, no family, and everybody who had treated her up until now, the so-called doctors, had only treated her for her money. No one had cared about her. But now, in this moment, she let go of all the fears that she may have held onto. But now, in this woman, wait.
That's why we love video.
But now, this woman, in this moment, decides to let go of all the fears that she had been holding on to. Fear of rejection, fear of being disappointed again, and the fear of loneliness. She let it all go as she was trying to get through this crowd of people who had never cared before, to get to Jesus, because maybe, just maybe, he will care and he will heal her. And then there's Jesus. He's in this crowd, probably surrounded by people who are experiencing pain and suffering of some kind. And he's on his way to meet a girl who is definitely experiencing pain and suffering. But the moment the woman touched him, his whole world stopped. I believe that in that moment that she touched him, he felt her pain and suffering. He cared about her pain. He cared about her suffering, even though nobody else did. And today, we have the opportunity to encounter Jesus the way that that woman did. Because in the same way that he cared about her, he also cares about you and me. If you are experiencing some type of pain and or suffering that you have been holding on to for however long now, Jesus cares about your story. Your pain and suffering is important to him. Important enough for him to stop in the middle of a crowd and see you and care about you. If you're experiencing pain and or suffering that you've been holding on to for a long time now, or for however long, I want you to know that Jesus cares about your story. He cares enough for him to stop in the middle of a crowd to listen to you and meet you where you're at. If you feel like you're ready to share your story, I want to encourage you to talk to somebody that you trust. So I want us to all take a moment, and I want you to write down at least one or two people that you think are in your life that you could trust enough to share your pain and suffering with. If you're having a hard time thinking of somebody that you trust, I want to encourage you to reach out to your student ministry director. So reach out to Taylor, John, Kate, Adam, Akash, Leah, Blair, or myself, because we care about you. Jesus was physically present with that woman. but he's not physically present with you and I. So he uses people to show how much he cares about others. Today, you can share your story with someone you trust or with a leader. Today, you can share your story, your pain and suffering with someone you trust or with a leader from your campus. But you can also be someone whom Jesus uses to care for others who are experiencing pain and suffering right now. You can also be someone whom Jesus uses to care for others who are experiencing pain and suffering right now. While we are surrounded by pain and or suffering, take the opportunity to be like Jesus. See someone in pain, listen to their suffering, care for them as Jesus cared for that woman and as he cares for you and for me. Pray with me. God, we thank you for encountering us where we are at, for caring about our pain and our suffering, and for being an ever-present source of comfort. Thank you for leaving an example to us of how we can care for others well, and thank you for lifting people up in our lives who care for us. We come to you today, Lord, and we give you our pain and suffering as that woman did. In Jesus' name, amen. See you next time.
My life is in the hands of the maker of heaven. I lean not on my own understanding. My life is in the hands of the maker of heaven. Ready? I lean not on my own understanding. You gonna sing? My life is in the hands of the maker of heaven. I lean not on my own understanding. My life is in the hands of the maker of heaven. I give it all to you, God, trusting that you'll make something beautiful out of me. I give it all, baby. I give it all to you, God, trusting that you'll make something beautiful out of me. I lean not on my own understanding. My life is in the hands of the maker of heaven. I lean not on my own understanding. My life is in the hands of the maker of heaven. I give it all to you, God, trusting that you'll make something beautiful out of me. I give it all. will climb this mountain with my hands wide open. I will climb this mountain with my hands wide open. I will climb this mountain with my hands wide. I will climb this mountain with my hands wide open. I will climb this mountain with my hands wide open. I will climb this mountain with my hands wide open. I will climb this mountain with my hands. I lean not on my own understanding. My life is in the hands of the maker of heaven. I lean not on my own understanding. My life is in the hands of the maker of heaven.
Hey, we're so glad that you're able to join us tonight. We hope that you laughed, smiled, learned a little bit about who you are, who God is, who you are to God, and who God is to you. And if you want to track with us this summer in our Bible reading, you can read through the book of Mark together with us. Next week, my boy John Kim will be bringing a message to us from the book of Mark, chapter 6, verses 45 through 52. And the first 5 people to tell us something that they learned about God or themselves in the chat will win a $10 Amazon gift card. So go ahead, quick, do it now. I don't know where the chat is, but it's somewhere around here. Oh, and one more very important information. Come back next week because there's gonna be a premiere segment on my dad and I's brand new cooking show, Never Measure.
Welcome to our cooking show, Never Measure. It's the most famous premiere cooking show ever non-created until this moment.
Of all forms of cooking, baking requires the highest levels of precision, even perfection. But here, only one rule reigns supreme. In this kitchen, we never measure.
Never measure.
Never measure.
Okay. Sorry, I dance when I don't know what else to do with myself.
Next week, my boy John Kim from our Lexington campus is going to be bringing a message from us. I should have said, in the midst of our pain, there's only a pandemic, but there's leaf blowers everywhere.
What? How do they find us?
Okay.
What is happening?
Oh, stay where you're meant to be. Okay.
We got a sentence in before he started blowing stuff.
Let it go!
And hey, the first
Take some time to talk to somebody you trust. There's a bug. Ah, the woods. Okay.
I know you're thinking.
Or with a campus lead. What?
If you remember the last. Okay.
Today.
was a real getting better and better.
Where am I here?
I've lost control. Woo!
This is the real me, guys. If you don't know, now you know.